Hello to all my Skullgirlies, and welcome to my very first tutorial-esque video. So this is very different from my showcases where I show and display how I would build certain fighters and the movesets that I have equipped to them. But this is more of a, what do you call it, like a character essay kind of tutorial. Now I know a couple of YouTubers have already did something like this, but I wanted to try my hand at it. So small disclaimer, I want to inform that this is a fungicational video. What I mean by fungicational is that it's educational and it's for fun. So anybody is free to build their characters as they please, whether it's offense or defense. I can only give my personal opinions and feedback to the variants that I'm going to be talking about today, and that would be for Miss Valentine, because I myself am more of a Valentine connoisseur next to Eliza, so I can pretty much share my knowledge to what I know of with Val. So again, this is for fun. I always wanted to kind of do something like this, but I'm a little shy too. With that said, let's get started. Starting with the bronzes. So we have Icy Hot. Shout out to the homie Sush Tree, who is the Icy Hot main. First responder is her signature ability, Water Bronze. All teammates tag in with regen for 10 seconds. On tag in, all teammates gain 10% blockbuster meter. So we technically have a support variant Valentine. Recommended marquee for her would be Trauma Center. So you would more or less have Icy Hot placed in the back. If you play parallel realms, you might be familiar with the catalyst called Soup Dumplings. And so basically Icy Hot is what Soup Dumplings is. You just have it more often. Let's say if you're playing a team with like Peacock, and you have like a high meter for tag cooldown and you're just consistently switching back and forth, that's what Icy Hot would provide. And of course, we all like a little extra blockbuster meter gain. So I would say she's definitely, a support offense. Just keep her more towards in the back. You're not really going to use her like that. It's kind of like the case with Surgeon General, which we'll get to as we progress in the video. So yeah, Icy Hot, good beginner support Valentine. Again, keep her in the back, build her offensively. If you want stats for her, I guess you could put offense, you could put attack, you could put meter gain, crit if you want her to crit, some piercing, just like the standard usual offense build that you would put for most. So that's for Icy Hot. Next we have Scrub, which is the default palette Valentine with her signature ability called Outpatient. All teammates instantly recover 5% health when Valentine tags out. Teammates in reserve regenerate scratch damage and gain blockbuster meter 50% faster. So technically speaking, in Valentine's character ability alone, she has one called Siphon. And Siphon is if Valentine has any red bar damage in her health bar, when she hits an opponent, her health would recover back. So in this case with Scrub, the scratch damage is that red chip damage. And they would basically have a pseudo Siphon ability while Scrub is in your team. And of course, being able to have that small clutch of health coverage, health regain as you switch between Valentine is always swell. It's kind of like fishbone cleaver in a way that is like not the gold variant version, it's the silver catalyst version, where you would instantly recover 15% health when you're starting a match. Think of Scrub as kind of like that in that sense. So recommended marquee, of course, is Trauma Center. She is a support variant, just like Icy Hot. May just want to keep her in the back at most part, but also build her offensively with same similar stats with attack, crit rate, crit damage, piercing, all that good stuff. And special cooldown to your choice. Alright, that's for the bronze Valentines. On to the silvers. So, oh my Valentine. Fire variant, and she is only obtainable through daily relics. She's one of the few Valentines that is only acquired from that. So if you're like, oh, can you get her from a fire elemental relic or any other standard relics? No, you cannot get her from there. She is kind of like inner pieces, where inner pieces you only can obtain from gold gifts. In Valentine's case with Oh My, she is only obtainable with daily relics. So, what is her ability? Deadly Fury. Gain 2 stacks of Enrage for 15 seconds and 5 stacks of Precision after defeating an opponent. When any teammate is defeated, all remaining teammates gain 2 stacks of Enrage for 7 seconds. So, it's very interesting. So it's 2 stacks of Enrage with 5 stacks of Precision when you defeat an opponent, and if a teammate is defeated, all remaining teammates gain 2 stacks of Enrage for 7 seconds. So, excuse me. So, Enrage and Precision is often one of the more favored buffs anyways in the game. So technically speaking, it's kind of like what do you compare it as? It's like a damn if I do, damn if I don't kind of thing, where it's like, damn if you do, that you get the Enrage and Precision. Damn if I don't, if your teammates are defeated, you still gain Enrage. So it's like, well, you're still getting Enrage in both senses of the word. So, I never really played Oh My, so I really wouldn't know exactly, like, oh, well, what would you recommend for her? Would she be a support, or would she be, like, can you have her on the field to kind of fight? Yes, you can. You can actually fight with her. You don't have to exactly, how do I say it? You don't have to exactly keep her in the back exclusively. You can switch in between her if needed. In terms of marquee is concerned, I'm not really sure. I feel like you can kind of go both ways with Trauma Center and ICU. There's really no set decision. Yeah, just kind of go as you want with this one. Again, I don't really have any specific, like, marquee to pick for her, but she would still be an offensive Valentine nonetheless. Build her with the basic stats that she would for an offensive fighter. And yeah. Next, we have Graveyard Shift. So Graveyard Shift was one of my early Valentine builds, and she was definitely clutch. And she was, you can think of her as the beginner's Final Fang. And I tell you why. Because before Final Fang came out, Graveyard Shift was one of the few Valentines to inflict curse on. Sorry, not to inflict curse on. Oh, my wording. Inflict curse with. There we go. So, her signature ability is Forensics. Valentine and all teammates gain heavy regen for 10 seconds when any fighter is defeated. 15% chance on hit to inflict curse and heal block for 5 seconds while you're benefiting from regen. So, considering in Valentine's kit alone, right? So, if you use Valentine's taunt, which is labeled as Chocologlycemia, Valentine will gain regen when using her taunt. So, it's very, very easy to get the regen onto yourself so you can just go ahead and do your thing in terms of getting that second essay in check. Graveyard Shift is a great supportive offense Valentine. Again, she is like the early version of Final Fang, being one of the few Valentines to inflict curse and heal black, which is great. I would say you can use either ICU or Trauma Center with her. Again, your choice. I think I was using Trauma Center with her before, but then I initially switched to ICU because that way you can get more out of the second part of her signature ability. So, yeah, definitely a good silver if you're an early game player and you want someone like her that really goes ham with like the debuffs. Pick her. I very much love Val. Again, offense support, base build, offense stats, go nuts. Next, we have Killjoy. So, Killjoy, before prestige abilities became a thing, Killjoy was one of those few fighters that would revive your teammates, more or less. So, teammates gain permanent regen when first dropping below 25% health while at an elemental advantage once per match on death. Resurrect all defeated teammates with 15% health. So again, Killjoy came way before prestige abilities were a thing. So as you can see with prestige, Valentine charges this ability every time she recovers health while tagged in. Charge 4% for each 1% health removed. This is just the base for Reanimator. All defeated teammates are revived with 10% health, and Valentine will gain her own health as well, and it increases the more you prestige her. So, I don't really think I've ever had a Killjoy invested. She's obviously she's just like straight support. I don't really know per se, like, oh, is she like offensive support? Is she defensive support? I would just say she's just support. You can build her as you please. Again, if you want to go nuts with the defense stats, go nuts with the defense stats. If you want to go nuts with the offense stats, go nuts with the offense stats. But her primary role is, again, just being a reviver, more or less. And again, since prestige ability kind of came in, Killjoy, I mean, I still actively see her in prize fights. But now that it's like, oh, well, if you're any Valentine's prestige, you can just automatically revive people. So it's kind of sad. I feel bad for Killjoy that she's kind of been like kind of phased out at this point. But I will still encourage beginner players who may not have prestige fighters yet or prestige Valentines yet. If you have a Killjoy and you need her for some clutch, go ahead. Again, this is a educational tutorial. So, you know, again, Killjoy, she's there. She can still be used without an issue. You know, again, if you like her, you like her. I never got a chance to build her again, so I can't give too much of a an input. But for her marquee, I can say put Trauma Center. Alright, on to the gold. Pyrotechnique. One of the few favorite palettes of mine, considering she's a Soul Calibur variant. Alright. Cellburn, Blackbuster, and special move hits have a 20% chance to inflict Wither for 5 seconds. 20% chance on hit to gain Enrage for 5 seconds if the opponent is suffering from Wither. So, I see a lot of people tend to have their small critiques with Pyrotechnique. I was able to get her from the Christmas relic pulls, and I'm glad I did, because I've been wanting to have her in my collection for a while. But I feel like I had her at one point, but I think I used her to evolve my Final Fang. I can't entirely remember. But I would say for me, being able to inflict Wither with any BB or special move hits and having that 20% chance, and knowing that Val herself is a very high combo hitter, it's possible to get that near 5 stacks of wither, and then gaining that enrage stacks as well. While the opponent is suffering from wither, and wither's one of the really good debuffs, because it helps reduce the blockbuster meter on an opponent. The higher the stacks, the lesser chance the opponent will use a blockbuster. So I would say Pyrotechnique is definitely full on offense. So I would recommend using ICU on her. You could play her first in the field without an issue. She's one of the few Valentines you could just play head on full charge. You could put her first in the team and just go nuts with it. Would recommend, again, using any blockbusters or special moves with multi-hits. So, for example, you could use Dead Cross, you can use Laryngectomy, you can use, Checkmate Incision. My brain had to think on that one. And you can also use her BB3 EKG Flatliner. Again, just to really ensure you get those hits in, keep consistent with the wither stacks and the enrage stacks. She's also an elemental exclusive, so you can only get her via fire relics. So again, really good offensive Valentine. Go hard with her, build her with good stats. Boom. Alright, next, Silent Kill. One of the really awesome Valentines. Foggy Memory. This also increases, I want to note, when you unlock it and you level up, these percentages will go higher. Okay, Foggy Memory. 50% chance on hit to remove all debuffs from self, with the 15% chance on hit to remove all opponents' buffs. Silent Kill has been an amazing clutch in so many circumstances and prize fights in parallel realms. She is just amazing. I can say you can build Silent Kill as an offense, full on offense, or if you want to make her a little bulky, definitely go for some HP in hand to give her longer survivability. But for me, Silent Kill, it's funny because her and Surge in general, if you are new to the game, you probably might be familiar with the $2, I don't know if it was a $1 or $2 USD offer, where it'll give you a couple of gold keys, you get the fighter, you get some skill points and some coin to jumpstart in building a Silent Kill or a Surge in Gen, which honestly, I like that they could offer something like that, because again, these are two of the best Vals in the game. Definitely go with ICU. It's funny because I used Trauma Center only just like temporarily. I mean, again, you can go either way in this. For most, they just use full on offense, so they go with ICU. If you want to just have her as a backup support too and have her as supportive offense, go ahead. Again, for educational. Anyways, next. Surge in general, one of the most popular and beloved Valentines. So Simp Tech or Stimp Pack. I'm sorry, where did I Simp Tech? While Valentine is alive, she gains permanent enrage every 60 seconds. This can go, you can decrease it, I think, up to 40 seconds? Question mark. While Valentine is alive, teammates gain immunity and heavy regen for 10 seconds every 30 seconds. This is one of the really great Valentines. I've seen her a lot in prize fight defense. So, as I was mentioning earlier about, basically how, I think I was saying with like Icy Hot or Scrub that she would be kept in the back. She can't really see the field. So this is the case with Surge in general. By default, you would use Trauma Center because, as you can see, she's made to be support offense. So, yeah, I would say keep her in the back. Because if you have already like a strong DPS fighter, let's say if you have like a Dahlia in front, or whoever will have strong attack with gating stacks of buffs anyways, or having that debuff cleanse, Surgeon General is an anticipated fighter to have to give you that extra boost, so that way you won't get as much debuffs on you. You have some health coverage. And let's say, okay, like God forbid, your two main fighters get eliminated towards the end of the fight. Here comes Valentine with the almost 5 stacks of Enrage, ready to beat their asses with no issue. And those Enrages always come clutch, so I would recommend, because she already gains an attack boost over time in a fight, go with like crit rate, crit damage, give her a little extra HP just to kind of, again, increase survivability. Put in some meter gain, whatever you like. Also put in like some piercing, you know, taking down those heavy tanked defenses. And yeah, Surgeon Gen is great to have. Also part of the beginners small Valentine bundle. If you have the $2, go ahead, she's great. Alright, final thing, my beloved. I can geek out all day with her. So, as I was saying with Graveyard Shift earlier, that Final Fang is the improved version of Graveyard Shift. They said, let's make Graveyard better. So, 1001 techniques. Based off Kakashi from Naruto. When the opponent gains a buff, mirror one of their buffs and inflict curse for 5 seconds. This goes up to, I think 15 seconds if you fully upgrade. 10% chance on hit to inflict a random debuff for 15 seconds while the opponent is suffering from a debuff. Now, this in itself is freaking broken. She is broken. I've used her a lot in realms and in prize fights. It's very easy to get that curse active, and again, Val being a high combo hitter, I recommend using, again, moves that already would inflict debuffs. She also counters good against No Time to Die Dahlias, as I've stated in my Final Fang showcase, or any other fighters that are very buff heavy. The moveset I have for her is basically like the blockbuster reduce meter special move. I'm sorry, I forgot the name. Dead Cross, Laryngectomy, Checkmate Incision, and for her BB3 is EKG Flatliner. You can really go hard in inflicting debuffs. I think the most I've ever inflicted in a fight was probably about 10, like almost 10 debuffs, and I was like, holy hell. Marquis, use ICU. That's the best way to go. Build her. She is also full on offense, so hit hard with her. Just have fun and hit hard with her. If you want to just go straight attack, build without putting crit, that's also fine too. If you want to just go ham with inflicting as many debuffs as possible. Because granted, you're also going to have stacks of bleed probably jacked in there as you're inflicting debuffs, so the opponent can still die just as quick. So, moving on to our last gold here is Last Hope, Urgent Care. Once per match while Valentine is alive, all teammates gain heavy regen for 5 seconds. I think is increased further when dropping below 25% health. Once per match when defeated, resurrect with almost, I think, 50% health when she's resurrected if you fully upgrade. So, I know a lot of people tend to have very mixed opinions with Last Hope, but in this case, she is one of the few defensive Valentines in this case. You want to really bulk her up with defense, resistance, HP, what else I could recommend, like meter gain, like for the most part. Because I know Quietus was added after the Marie update, I think if people just found it more easier to just like, oh, well, if I inflict Quietus on her, this bitch can't revive anyways. That's often the case, in that regard, but I would say I have a soft spot for Last Hope. I used to play her like in my very beginner days of SGM. Like I came back to SGM last November, but I have first played about 2021. So she holds a soft spot in my heart. I remember just being super excited when I got her. I was still learning the ropes of the game. So if you do decide to build her, go with defensive stats, go with the ICU Marquis, and just basically make her a full take. Make sure she just does not die and make the opponent waste their time trying to kill her. Unless you inflict inverse polarity on her, then I have no clue what to say. Alright, time for the diamonds. It's funny because Val is the only fighter with 5 diamond variants. She has the most diamonds in the game. Let's start with Near Death. Now, Near Death I had got, as you saw in my Spooky Polls video. This is how she works. Transfer 1 debuff from yourself to the opponent and inflict guard break for 15 seconds after every 7 seconds while not suffering a hit, including blocked hits. While the opponent is suffering from a debuff, grant Deadeye for 10 seconds when using a blockbuster. Also, while the opponent has 3 or more stacks of guard break, blockbusters deal 50% bonus damage. So, a lot of people critique the absolute god out of Near Death. And, I mean, she's one of the only Vals to have access to Deadeye. You know, and Deadeye is, in itself, is one of the most popular buffs anyways. And as well as Guard Break. Guard Break is great. But, I would say it just feels the only bit slightest underwhelming, especially since I've personally played her both basically mainly in Recruit, and even if you're playing like Parallel Realms, like I'd say she would be good for prize fights, but in Parallel Realms, if you're trying to really get in with a challenge, being able to reach that 3 stacks of guard break, unfortunately, is not entirely possible. So I would say Near Death is good for PEBs, but not if you're doing Parallel Realms like I often do. For Marquis, go with ICU, because I believe she's supposed to be an offensive Val anyways, to my knowledge. Again, if you want to invest in her, go ahead. Again, for educational. This is just only my opinion. I feel like there was room for growth. There's room for more. Maybe in the future she might get a bit of a buff. Who knows? Next we have Sarah Soldier. And I'm still salty I don't have her! Hearts on Fire. While Valentine is alive, the active fighter gains Enrage for 10 seconds when dealing at least 10% of the opponent's max health from a singular hit. Also, your active fire element fighter permanently increases damage by 0.25% every second. While Valentine is alive, 50% of all damage inflicted by the active fighter's critical hits is regained as health while that fighter is benefiting from Enrage. Now, Sarah Soldier, she came out this year in the February backstage pass with Indom, and oh man, everyone loves her. And honestly, I don't blame them. I think I've only tried Seraph maybe like twice in Parallel Realms runs, and she is a great support Valentine. This is one of the top tier Vals in the game alone. And if I had her, oh man, I would of course I'm gonna immediately build her. I hope she comes home. Please come home, Sarah. Please. Please. So since she's offense support, definitely go with Trauma Center for her. Keep her in the bag as you would do with Surgeon General. That damage increase goes hard, especially if you have an all-fire team. Oh man, you're gonna slay on the battlefield, my homie. You're gonna slay on the battlefield. Next, we have Wet Work, and one of the few, like my second shiny deal. Look at her go. Look at her, also sparkly, so delicious. Anyways, Aerial Rave, gaining evasion every 2 seconds while charging a charged attack. When knocking an opponent into the air, Valentine gains Enrage and the opponent suffers armor break and death mark for 4 seconds. I forgot what the max timing is. I think you can increase it up to 7 seconds. So yeah, so when you use a charge attack, Valentine gains timeless evasion, just for the record. You get timeless evasion, and you knock the opponent in the air. It's literally every time you knock them in the air. Valentine gains Enrage, and the opponent suffers armor break and death mark for 4 seconds. So, can you stack the Enrages pretty quick? Not all the way through. I can, at least to when I was trying to experiment with her a little bit. I could be wrong. You can use like buff extender support fighters like Evergreen Evil, for example, to increase the duration of the time you have, and maybe you'll be able to gain more on the Enrage stacks. But we love evasion. I freaking love evasion. Being able to not get hit, and then doing a charge attack while on top of that, and if it's already an unblockable, then you're good. For the Marquis, go with ICU. She's full on offensive Val. Have fun with her. I also like her reference. She's based off her Try to Hear You from when I would play Marvel vs. Capcom. So bonus points for the ref. Oh my god, 2 more diamonds. Treshik, Two-Faced. While on her own side of the stage, Valentine gains 1 stack of barrier, thorns, or armor every 5 seconds. These buffs are removed when knocked down. While on the opponent's side of the stage, crit hits inflict bleed, death mark, or armor break for 5 seconds. Now, Treshik is definitely also a good, anticipated Valentine. I would say, I believe she's supposed to be offense. I don't know if she's supposed to be defense or offense. Can't really pick one. I'd say do both, because you still benefit of no matter what side of the stage you're on. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm like kind of brain farting on that one. I normally see her paired with supports like Rose Tinted. Rose Tinted goes really well with Treshik. So definitely, also, with Marquis, go with ICU. You basically have a win-win situation when using Treshik and fighting against your opponents. So if you're on your side of the stage, you get, again, those buffs to increase your survivability. And if you're on the opponent's side, you try to kill them off quicker. So you win. It's a win for the win. That's why it's called Two-Face, because it's a win-win. Lamau. And last but not least, one of my other loving old faves, Assassin's Creed. Bled Dry. When the opponent uses a blockbuster against Valentine, they lose 50% of their remaining health and suffer heavy bleed for 5 seconds. Gain 3% health per second while nearby an opponent suffering bleed. Now let me tell y'all something. If you don't have any fighters that has either A, a debuff cleanse, B, inflict inverse polarity, or C, have immunity, oh, you're in it for a bad time. You're in for a bad time. Oh, man. I've faced Assassin's Creed way too many times in POs and in parallel realms, and if you don't have the right proper team, again, you're gonna have a bad time, especially if you have ICU on your Val, and I am a proud Assassin's Creed haver. Fully built, do I have her Max Marquis? I think I do, and she's level 60. She is a full-on defensive Val. Stack on that defense, stack on that HP, stack on that meter gain, and ruin someone's life. Lamau. She still, again, has a soft spot in my heart. Not a lot of people really talk about her much, but I still personally love her. And in my opinion, she has one of the prettiest palettes in the game. Yeah, so that is the ultimate Valentine fundamental blabber banter tutorial. Sorry if I can't really show any like clips or like, you know, do it like I guess super professional like how Kevin Pepino and others would try to do it. This is again 88 Fingies Nez Fun Buns edition. So I hope you enjoyed this little surprise upload. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will try to see y'all next week for another Parallel Realms one. Take care!